Thank you, Jonathan. Very, very slightly. Next up, we have Vini Drozdowski, who contacted us specifically with the interest of doing an icebreaker, which was fantastic. We were happy to oblige, and I'll hand it straight over. Thank you, Vini.
Okay, hello, my name is Vini. I'm here to tell you about my favorite ship. So we have 41 years of beautiful history to cover in the next 5 minutes, so let's get cracking. So, like so many things, the life of the SY Aurora started after the British Imperial need for stuff. In this case, whale oil. She was built in 1876 by the Dundee shipbuilders Alexander Stephen and Sons, who specialized in wooden composite ships, meaning they could travel by steam or by sail, and the flexible wooden hulls made them perfect for battling their way through the ice. The Aurora was built to join the Dundee whaling fleet. See, Dundee was in the middle of its jute boom. So back in the 1830s, they discovered some stuff. They're like, we are going to make jute work. And they did. They found that if they poured a bunch of whale oil on it and made it nice and like slimy and slippery, they could spin it into textiles that were soft enough to actually do something. So the American Civil War happened, there was no cotton. Crimean War happened, there was no linen, and so jute really took off. But because they needed more jute, they needed more whale oil. Now, as a slight aside, some people got really, really rich from jute. Like this guy, you may recognize, James Caird. So, not everything was routine for the good whaling ship Aurora. I'm going to give you some highlights. I could talk about this ship for hours, so just, I'm actually doing all right for time, so you're going to have to hear a lot. No, I'm just kidding. In 1884, the Aurora participated in the search for the lost Greeley expedition. It was really more by chance than by design. The American government had already purchased a few ships, but the Aurora was kind of heading up that way already with, on the whaling route. And since none of the American captains had ever been to the Arctic before, and in fact, many of them have never seen ice before, the whaling ships were like, you know what, we'll take you there. We'll take you there. And so they cut a path through the ice, and they eventually discovered Greeley and his 6 survivors. This wasn't actually the last lost expedition that the Aurora searched for. In 1893, the crew of the Aurora was tasked to find the lost Bjorling expedition. So 2 Swedish naturalists and a small crew of Newfoundlanders disappeared in their small schooner, the Ripple. As you can see, it didn't end well for them. So they found the wreck of the ship, they found some notes in a cairn, they found a dead body, and that's all anyone ever found. So a year later, a number of the ships were sold off to a Newfoundland company. Whaling was in decline, jute production moved back to India, and sealing was still kind of a big thing in Newfoundland, but there was a bigger demand coming for these wooden composite ships. But this time, they'd be going south instead of north. In 1910, the Aurora was sold to an Australian geologist named Douglas Mawson. She transported the members of the Australasian Antarctic expedition down to Cape Denison, the windiest place on Earth, and then returned to Hobart and made a number of scientific voyages. She ended up embarking on 2 more voyages south to retrieve the surviving members of the expedition before being sold to our man of the hour, Ernest Shackleton. Shackleton needed a second ship for his support party, the Ross Sea Party, for the Imperial Transantarctic expedition. So I'm really surprised that no one has made like a really dramatic HBO Chernobyl-style drama about the Ross Sea Party, because honestly, it's like everything that could go wrong did, and then it got worse. Like for the poor Aurora, who was supposed to overwinter and serve as like a floating supply warehouse for the shore party, she blew out to sea, got stuck in the ice, and was stuck drifting for over 300 days. And during this time, became essentially a floating death trap. Everyone was getting carbon monoxide poisoning on the daily. One guy got electrocuted and fell off a wireless mast. Like, insane. And this is just a story without all the interpersonal drama. It's fabulous. The SY Aurora was last seen on the 20th of July, 1917. Shackleton sold the ship to an American company who was planning to use it to ship fertilizer, coal, and explosives between Australia and Chile. The Aurora, however, never made it to her destination. No wreckage appeared, no distress signal was sent. Theories surrounding her fate varied. Conjecture pointed to the old weather-worn ship, foundering in a storm, or flammable cargo catching fire. Years after her disappearance, it was suggested that a German U-boat sank the ship, but still, no one ever knows. Whether the Aurora was finally bested by nature, fire, or war, a single reminder of the great Antarctic ship was discovered 6 months after her last sighting. It was a single lifebuoy, the underside covered in barnacles, with clear lettering reading S.Y. Aurora and faded lettering from her 2 Antarctic expeditions.